Avery County Schools Spotlight on Education is brought to you by John and Hank Phillips of Avery County Tire and Service in Newland, your tire and car service specialists.
Michelin makes some of the most fuel-efficient tires on the road, so you can take the pump down. Find out how much you can save at MichelinMan.com. Michelin, a better way forward.
Avery Tire and Service has served Newland, Avery County, and the entire High Country for the last 50 years. Family owned and operated, John and Hank Phillips have put together an outstanding team of skilled personnel who can supply and fill all of your automotive and truck needs. Located in the center of Newland, Avery Tire and Service is your local supplier for Michelin tires, as well as the supplier for all the top brands for every part of your vehicle. From tires to brakes, from oil changes to any kind of car or truck service, Avery Tire and Service can do it all, and always at the very highest level of friendliness and quality. If a business has been around for 50 years, then they obviously must be the best at what they do. Avery Tire and Service in Newland, still proudly serving you and all of the High Country.
Welcome to another edition of the Superintendent Spotlight on Education in Avery County. With me today is Coach Scott Polsgrove and Mr. Jacob Waldron. Gentlemen, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to talk just a little bit about a very exciting basketball season. And Scott, I guess looking back on what was accomplished, talk to us a little bit about the successes you had and some of the lessons our team learned this year.
Well, fortunately, we had a great year in terms of wins and losses. I think we had a number of firsts in the history of Avery County basketball. We were fortunate to win our regular season conference championship, our conference tournament championship. Along the way, we won 20 games in a row, which I don't think had ever been done before.
I think that is a record, yeah.
Yeah, and advanced pretty far in the state tournament and made a Final Four appearance in Greensboro before we got lost to Winston-Salem Prep. But really an outstanding year for all involved.
Jacob, what was it like being on a team that won 20 games in a row, undefeated in the conference, and going that deep in the playoffs?
It was a lot of fun. It was a great time. Coach Polsgrove taught us a lot, and it was just a great experience for all of us. For
the lessons you've learned during this year, what do you think is going to benefit you most in your basketball and school career?
Well, he's taught us to never give up and to always try our best to do what we want. And it'll help us in school to make good grades and go to the colleges we want.
Scotty, as you look back on last year and look at what this team accomplished, what do you think is probably the greatest accomplishment? I know wins and losses, but for this team, from where they were at the beginning of the season to the end of the season, what are you most proud of?
Well, I guess I would, you could answer that a number of different ways, but I think learning how to operate within the framework of a team, of putting your teammates in front of yourself, learning to share the ball on offense if you want to get specific with basketball, but just learning how to operate, again, within the framework of a team, because we're all going to have to operate within groups of people, whether we're teachers and running a classroom or in the business world. There's lots of different ways that you can learn how to interact with other people and how important that is, because it's, you're not always going to get along. And we were just like any other team. We didn't always get along, but you learn to work through those difficult times together when you have a common goal.
Jacob, I noticed something this year with the team, and you in particular, is how the defense improved.
Yes, sir.
Talk to us a little bit about why we went from maybe not the greatest defensive team in the conference, at the end playing really good defense on people.
Well, we spent countless hours in the gym working on defense. We would do drills for 20, 30 minutes in practice, just working on our rotations and where we're supposed to be, and that was the main point of our team, was defense.
What defense do you enjoy playing most, man-to-man or zone?
Yes, sir, man. It's a lot of fun to play man.
Now, I did notice we didn't press a whole lot during the season. Reason for that?
We just tried to keep our opponents in front of us and play good team defense. Didn't want to get beat, and we just wanted to make sure they took a bad shot so we could have the ball.
Now, Scott, I know you grew up in Indiana. Mm-hmm. They play a little bit of basketball there.
They do.
So, coming from Indiana, what does that bring to your coaching here in North Carolina? What's important to you as you build a team?
Well, I think more than just from coming from Indiana, playing for the coaches that I played for have really influenced my philosophy, how we go about doing what we do, and obviously being from that part of the country, those coaches were influenced by people from the Midwest. But my college coach, who I think the world of and is a very good friend of mine, Paul Patterson is his name, and he was recently inducted into the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. He was influenced greatly by guys that he worked for, like Joe B. Hall, who used to be the head coach at the University of Kentucky. But defense was one of our calling cards in college, and the same can be said for my high school coach, who was influenced greatly by Bob Knight. So, you get a combination of all those different philosophies, and you kind of make it your own, and it proved to be pretty successful for us this year.
It did.
Yeah.
Very successful.
Yeah.
Jacob, as you look back on the year, is there a game that stands out that you thought we really gelled together as a team and really started enjoying playing the game?
I think once we beat Heritage at home in the last second buzzer beater, we knew that we could do something with ourselves this year, and that really brought us together. We just started playing good team ball. You
know that you really caused a lot of people in that gym to almost go into cardiac arrest, don't you?
Yes, sir. That was a scary game.
Yes, it was. Sheriff Fry and I were standing together, and I think I got to jump a little bit higher than him, but we were both jumping around a whole lot.
Yeah, I was shaking. I was out there playing, too.
Well, what did you think when you got to Greensboro and you looked in the stands and our stands were all the way full and everyone else just had a few people there? How'd that make you feel?
It showed that we had a lot of support. It showed that our parents and our schoolmates really cared for what we were doing. And it really made us feel good that we needed to come and play for them and for Coach Paulsgrove.
Well, Scott, what did you think when you drove through the little town of Newland
and
had a lot of people out wishing you the best as you went to play that first game in Greensboro, and the town kind of was full of different decorations and stuff for the team? How did that make you feel as a coach?
Well, it made all of us as a team feel great because we knew the support that we were getting, and I would even back up a few days earlier than that with the home games that we had the week before to start the state tournament. In particular, the game on Wednesday against Cherokee and then the game Friday against Robbinsville. I've had a number of people tell me that they had not seen the gym that full since the days of Tommy Burleson. And it was really if I can use this term, an Indiana high school type atmosphere. At least that's what I remember growing up. But the support that we got all year long was very good, and it just got better as the ball got rolling for us. And then walking out of the high school on that Wednesday morning to head to the bus through a tunnel of all the high school students was neat. Seeing the students at Avery Middle School and at Newland Elementary School being out there cheering us on was really special. And I think it's something, I don't know if the guys really understand right now how special that is, but I know that they will as things go a few years down the road, that they'll really understand how important that was and how special that was.
Jacob, I grew up in the time of Tommy Burleson, and I remember that gym being totally filled to capacity. Mm-hmm. And it was exciting to see folks coming out and supporting your team.
Yes, sir.
And what do you think that's going to do for your team next year? I mean, you're just a sophomore this year. You got two more years. So what do you think that's going to do for you next year as a player and your whole team?
It's just fuel the fire. We're just going to try to run back out and do the same thing again next year, make a further run, and hopefully repeat the conference championship. Should be a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun this year.
Yeah, it was.
Now, Scott, talk to us a little bit about the Allegheny game down in Greensboro. That was a tale of two different halves. Talk to us about how we finally held on to win and what you were thinking in that last 10 seconds. And I think they got 8 shots. I think they only got 2, but it seemed like 8.
Well, first of all, I'd say we couldn't have gotten off to a better start.
Right.
I was very happy with our preparation leading up to the game, and we certainly played like it in the first quarter. Mm-hmm. I believe it was 20-1 or 22-1 after the first quarter. The second quarter, we kind of played even. And then whatever I said at halftime, I'm never saying again, because the second half was, to say that the second half was a struggle would be an understatement. We only scored 10 points in the whole second half. But again, the thing that had carried us all year long was our defense. And we had to play great defense not only for the whole game, but there were some really key possessions that we got key stops on late in the game that allowed us to pull that victory out. But credit goes to our guys to persevering through it, because things are not always going to go well. And even though we shot the ball great and defended them, probably the first quarter was a perfect quarter for us. You can't count on that all the time. And I think the lessons that we learned through the course of the year, how to persevere through things, how to really count on each other, and that paid off for us there in the last couple of possessions of the game when the game was on the line.
Mm-hmm. It did. Jacob, that game, the Heritage game, some of those other really tight games we played, what lessons did those games teach you as a player?
You just can't give up. I mean, even when you think you have a big lead and stuff, you can't underestimate people, because they're always going to make runs. So basketball is a game of runs.
Now, our last game against Winston-Salem Prep that went on to eventually win the state championship 3 years in a row, what did that game do for you as you're motivated for next year?
Well, I think it really showed us we could play with anybody, because we were with Winston-Salem Prep in the first half, and if we would have played like we did in the first half, we could have been right there with them. So it shows us that we can play with the top teams in the state, even if we're just a small town. We can play with them.
Yeah, that's a good lesson to learn. Scott, and thinking ahead, looking at next year, where do you see next year's team, maybe what their strengths are going to be?
Well, we're certainly going to be a different team. Mm-hmm. We're losing 3 seniors. All 3 of them started. They all did important things for us. But one of the strengths of our team this year was our depth, and so we do return a number of guys who either started or played significant minutes for us. We'll have to have, roles will be different next year. What is expected of guys will be a little bit different next year. Going through our postseason conferences with the guys right now. In fact, I met with Jacob a little bit earlier today, talking about some things that he needs to improve on and needs to do differently so that we can be a quality team again next year. So every year is unique. I remember my college coach, and I refer to him a lot, but I was fortunate to win 3 championships in 4 years that got us to national tournaments when I played. And I always remember him saying that just because a team won a championship the year before, that doesn't guarantee this team anything, and that you have got to go out and get your own. And so if we're going to win a conference championship or a conference tournament championship or advance far in the playoffs this next year, next year's team is going to have to go out and do that themselves. We can't rest on any laurels or accomplishments from the year before. We've got to go out and earn it. And the way that happens is through hard work. There's no secret. There's no magic. These guys have got to have a great summer, and we've got to be able to figure out new roles and be able to come together as a team and hopefully accomplish a lot again next year.
Jacob, the conference must win okay because you're still here.
Yes, sir.
But if you're setting one goal for yourself between now and the start of next basketball season, what's that going to be for you?
I have to get stronger, and I have to become a mentally strong player too, and develop myself so I can help the team out.
Well, you play the toughest position on the floor probably in high school basketball, point guard.
Yes, sir.
You handle the ball a lot, and you did a great job for us. What's your goals after high school?
Go to college and try to play ball, hopefully.
That's a pretty good goal. And Scott, your goal for the young men you coach is what?
Boy, that's a loaded question. I hope that these guys, the wins are really important, and we're not going to diminish that at all. But more than that, these guys learning how to operate within the framework of a team, being able to put other people's needs in front of theirs, understanding the value of hard work, understanding the value of learning how to persevere through tough stuff, because there's going to be tough things that we're going to have to go through in every game, whether it's poor calls or poor coaching or the ball not going in the basket like we'd like it to. You've got to learn how to handle that and deal with that. And I think the lessons that athletes can learn by going through those tough times, and again by working within the framework of a team, can be lifelong and should be lifelong lessons.
Very good. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us. Jacob,
Thanks.
We wish you the best. Look forward to next
Thanks.
year. And Scott, we appreciate the great role model you are for a young
Thank you.
man.
Thank you.
Avery County Schools Spotlight on Education is brought to you by John and Hank Phillips of Avery County Tire and Service in Newland, your tire and car service specialists.
Michelin makes some of the most fuel-efficient tires on the road, so you can take the pump down. Find out how much you can save at MichelinMan.com. Michelin, a better way forward.
Avery Tire and Service has served Newland, Avery County, and the entire High Country for the last 50 years. Family owned and operated, John and Hank Phillips have put together an outstanding team of skilled personnel who can supply and fill all of your automotive and truck needs. Located in the center of Newland, Avery Tire and Service is your local supplier for Michelin tires, as well as the supplier for all the top brands for every part of your vehicle. From tires to brakes, from oil changes to any kind of car or truck service, Avery Tire and Service can do it all, and always at the very highest level of friendliness and quality. If a business has been around for 50 years, then they obviously must be the best at what they do. Avery Tire and Service in Newland, still proudly serving you and all of the High Country.